Welcome back all the participants to the workshop of modern construction material that is organized by the Department of Civil Engineering of Dr. K. N. Modi University. I am Mr. Shashank Gupta, working as an assistant professor in the same university and the same department. So now let's start our lecture on how wood is good as a construction material. First of all, let's talk about wood. Wood is one of the most used natural building material in the whole world. A number of valuable properties such as low heat conductivity, small bulk density, and relatively high strength. It makes wood as famous building material. And the best part about wood is timber, and timber can be used in the most economical way without wasting any of the derivative of wood. Even the sawdust that is obtained during the wood sawing, that is wood cutting, at the time of wood cut, we get a huge amount of sawdust also, and which can also be used to make fiber boards and to make paper also. Now let's look at some of the properties that a good construction material should have. So as we can see, there is a table. At this column, you can see there are many different types of material that are used for construction. First, let's talk about pure metals. As you can see, the density of pure metals is in range of 5 to 19. 5 to 90, which shows ton per meter cube, which shows that the pure metals, they can be really heavy. And if the material that is used in a structure is heavy, then the whole structure is going to be heavy. It's going to be heavy weight. So in that condition, the durability, we can say, will not be very high. As the more weight on the structure, then in analysis we have to resolve so many of weights, and which is going to be a little bit difficult for the designer also. So here is a factor. And you can see for steel, the density is 7.85, which is also a little bit high, because steel, as you know, steel is very heavy. And for concrete, it is only 1.8 to 2.5. And for timber, it is very low. It is 0.17 to 0.98. As you can see, as compared to steel or even as compared to concrete, it is very low. Timber ranges from 0.17 to 0.98. So as compared to steel and concrete, the timber is going to be very lightweight. The structure that will be created through timber or teak wood is going to be very lightweight. So it's going to be very durable also. Now let's talk about the stiffness. Stiffness ranges from 20 to 200 of pure metals, which shows why stiffness is important, because at the time of ductility, the structure should also be a little bit flexible. So in pure metals, the stiffness is very high, so which shows that the ductility or the flexibility of the material is also going to be very high. For steel, it is 195 to 205, because steel is a kind of alloy, so it is a mixture of different type of metals and carbon. So we can say that the stiffness of steel is much larger than the metals, which makes it quite a wonderful material for construction. For concrete, the stiffness ranges from 20 to 45, and we all know that's not that good. While for timber, it varies as how the load we are applying. If we are applying load perpendicular to the grain, then it's going to range from 0.6 to 1. And if we are going to apply load at parallel to the grain, then it shows 9 to 16. As we can see that if we are talking about the stiffness in the parallel direction of the grain, then it's going to be high. It's going to give a high stiffness as compared to the stiffness that it's going to give in the perpendicular direction of the grain. Let's talk about the strength. The strength of pure metals is not that high. As you can see, it lies in the range of 20 to 80. The strength is from 20 to 80 of the pure metals, while for steel it is 235 to 450. The concrete, it is 4 to 10 in tension, while 20 to 150 in compression. So as we all know that concrete is very good of a material while we are talking about compression, but in tension it doesn't give that much of a strength. While in timber, it gives a very good quality of strength. It ranges from 90 to 200 in tension, while in compression it gives 15 to 90. And as you can see, it gives up to the strength of 200. As you can see, even up to it can be used up to as still steel. And strength is quite important for a wood building construction material. Okay, so now the next is work to fracture toughness. Now you must all must be thinking that why are we taking this into consideration? Because work to fracture toughness shows how much the durability of a structure is going to be, how much work we can attain until any material that we are using is going to get fracture or it's going to crack. For pure metals, they are very tactile, as you know. So the pure metal, the work to fracture toughness is really very high. It ranges from 100 to 1000. While for steel, it varies from 100 to 130. For concrete, it's only 0.03. It's quite low because it's a brittle material. So so the ratio is very small. But for timber, it ranges from 8 to 20 till the first crack occurs in the perpendicular direction of the grain, while 0.5 to 2 only for the first crack in parallel direction of the grain. And the relative cost is very important factor, especially in India, because the first thing that everyone should be concerned about before building any type of structure, it is whether it's going to be economical or not. If the structure is economical, only then we are going to build it. If it's not, so we have to make it economical. So the pure metals, the range is very high. It differs from alumina to silica. It changes for what kind of iron we are using. So it's very different for all of that. And the ratio, the relative cost we are looking as per steel, so it's 1.0 to 1.0. The mass, the concrete is 0.7. As you can see, it is cheaper in terms of mass than steel, but quite cheaper if we talk about the volume. Why? Because the density of concrete is also very low, so it is going to get a more volume than steel. The density is low, so it's going to cost us much less in terms of volume also. While timber, it's also not in a given pattern. It also changes whether how much seasoned timber we are using, but it also ranges from 0.1 to 0.2. Now let's talk about what are the advantages of the timber that we are going to use. And why should we use timber? Because it can be easily handled and joined. The most of the material like concrete, if we need to join, then at the starting only we can join any two members. It's going to be really difficult once the member is casted. But in the case of timber, it can be easily handled and joined. It means the workability is quite high. While the timber can be used for both load bearing structures and non-load bearing structures also. It can be used for aesthetic purpose also, for like we can use it for making walls and that kind of stuff, while we can also use the wood for beams and columns. It can be easily converted to any shape and size. That's all we know, by sewing or by giving any type of shape that we want it to. With the advent of superior adhesives and other forms of timber characters, yani as you can see that we can change its shape and size with the use of adhesives like Fevicol, for example. The wastage in timber construction is less because all wastage can be put one use or the other. As we have talked about that, even the sawdust that is a kind of a byproduct, or we can say a wastage while we construct timber. It can also be used in the form of paper or in the form of plywoods also. It can be used in these kind of things also. So the wastage in timber construction is very less. It has very high resale and salvage value. The wood that we are using right now, it can be, if you are using it in a furniture, or we are using it in a form of formwork, then it can again be it can be resale at a very high value. The timber has the high resale value. So the timber has better insulating properties than any other material. As we have known, in case if you will touch timber at any time, it's not going to be very hot or very cool, just because of its thermal insulation. It's really high for timber also. And the durability of timber can be very high if properly seasoned and preserved. The durability of timber is very high if we have seasoned it properly. The meaning of season is that there is a sap, we will talk about it later, but there is a quantity of sap and moisture that is present in the wood. So if it is properly seasoned and it is preserved properly, then the durability can be high. The timber construction are light in weight and strong and can be made economical. As we have talked about this already, the timber construction is very light in weight because the density of timber is very low. So they are also strong because their strength and stiffness is quite good, and they can be very economical for construction purpose. For aesthetic and decorative purposes also, we can because it is very good, we can change its shape and size as per according to our whatever as per our wants, so as per our needs. So the aesthetic and decorative appearance, we can use timber also. It's easily available. It's easily available because wood is easily available. It's all over the world, we can see that, and it is easily available, and the energy efficiency is quite high. Now let's talk about the microstructure of the tree. So this is the microstructure of tree. When we cut the tree in cross section, then you can see that there is outer bark. The first part is outer bark, and it is pith. The center of the tree is called as pith. What is pith? The core part of the innermost part of the tree is called as pith. It contains cellulose tissues which are helpful for the growth of plant during its young age. At the young age, all the sap, all the nutrients is flow through the cellulose tissues, and they are present in the pith. After the pith, there comes the heartwood. The heartwood consists of and all the some annual rings in it. It contains some annual rings in it, and it is dark in color. It is very hard and provides rigidity to the tree. And this is the part due to which we use it for engineering purpose also, because it has very high strength and durability also. The next is the sapwood. The sapwood, we would say that it comes after the heartwood, but it contains the outer annual rings, which indicates the recent growth of the tree. If we have high amount of sapwood, then we can say that the tree is still growing, and this indicates the recent growth of the tree and is light in color. It contains sap which helps in the growth of tree. In the sapwood, the sap is present. The next is cambium layer. This is cambium layer. As you can see, this portion is cambium layer. Cambium layer contains sap which will turn into sapwood after some time, and it should not be exposed to the atmosphere, otherwise the tree may die. If it is exposed in air, then the tree may die. So the next part, it is inner bark and outer bark. Inner bark is a protective layer that protect the cambium layer from the atmosphere, and the outer bark, it's the outermost layer of the tree section, and it is also known as cortex. It contains cells of wood fiber also. The medullary rays, these are the medullary rays. As you can see, the medullary rays are this. The medullary rays are extending from pith to the cambium layer and are known as medullary rays because these rays hold the annual rings of sapwood and heartwood together. And now this is the another structure through which we can see that how the different types of beams, which is the best portion to cut out if we need different type of for the different need of structural materials. As you can see that this R portion, it is best for dowel and planks. If we are thinking about constructed planks or structural material, then we can use this portion. This is the best portion that can be used, and this D portion is discarded for joisted beams. You know, we should not use the part for the outer near the near the cambium layer. We should never use, because it is discarded. Doesn't have that much hardness or strength, and this portion is not good for structural planks. If we are cutting this in this direction, then it's not going to give a much higher of the structural strength. But if we cut the wood in this direction, that we can say that we can use it for dowel and planks. The portion that consists of these medullary rays is the best part for joints and beams. So next, now let's talk about the moisture that is present in timber and whether it's good or bad. So the moisture content is one of the most important characteristics of timber that affects its use on the site performance. Equilibrium moisture content and fiber saturation point. These are the two points at which we should talk about, that the moisture content of wood changes in response to the temperature and humidity of its surrounding. The moisture content of wood, it's very simple, that the moisture content is going to change as per according its surrounding. What is the temperature of the surrounding? It changes according to that. And what is the humidity of the surrounding? It also changes upon that. It is proportional to it. So fiber saturation point, when the cell cavities are empty but the cell walls still retain their bound water, then that is the point of fiber saturation point. For example, when we try to season and we try to evaporate the water, then after that, even after the evaporation, there is some still amount of water that always retained within the bound layer of their cells, and that is called as fiber saturation point. Let's talk about some engineering properties of timber also. Some of the properties we already discussed earlier, so let's talk about it in detail, like the elastic modulus. So the wood is linear elastic only over a small strain range. If you're talking about a small strain range, it shows the linear elastic behavior, but only for a small range. In general, the elastic modulus is highest in longitudinal directions, that is parallel to grain, and the lowest in tangential direction, that's going to be perpendicular to the grain. The values of longitudinal elastic modulus ranges from 6 to 17 GPa. For example, teak has a young modulus of about 9.4 GPa in the green state and about 10.6 GPa for 12% of moisture content. If the moisture content is at 12%, then it shows the elastic modulus of 10.6 GPa. Now let's talk about the shear strength of the timber. In shear, again, the strength depends on whether the primary or the secondary bonds are broken. And if the fibers are being broken or just separated, so we can say that the shear strength of the wood depends significantly on whether primary or secondary bonds are broken during failure. Primary being the covalent bonds and the secondary being the van der Waals or hydrogen bonds. Therefore, the direction of the failure with respect to the grain determines the strength. Shear parallel to grain is common because a lot of times we are loading along the direction of the grains, and this involves breaking of the secondary bonds because we are sharing one cell wall against the another, and these cell walls are bonded primarily by van der Waals forces and hydrogen bonds. The corresponding strength is in the range of 5 to 15 MPa megapascal. In the case of teak, it is about 9 megapascal in the green state and about 13 megapascal at the moisture content of about 12%. Now this is parallel to the grain. When we have shear failure perpendicular to the grain, then we have to cut the cell walls and the shear strength is generally high. Now let's talk about the effect of temperature. The wood is such that the mechanical properties generally decrease when heated and increase when cooled. If we are going, if we started increasing the temperature, if we start to heat it, then the mechanical properties will decrease. And if we start to decrease the temperature, that means we start cooling it, then the properties, the mechanical properties may rise. This effect is reversible also, but we should keep in mind that the temperature of wood increases. As the temperature of the wood increases, the property decrease. That is the strength and the Young's modulus decrease as the temperature goes up. At very high temperature, there is a permanent deterioration of the wood. that is the microstructure breaks down, and you cannot have a reversible effect at high temperature. If you have permanently damaged the wood, then it's not going to change its mechanical properties after that. Now let's talk about what is creep. Creep, as we all know, it is the deformation when the load is occurred for a long time. So creep is also significant in wood. Creep is the increase in string as the load is kept constant or the stress is sustained in a material. We find that creep is quite significant. That is why you will find that in very old structures you will see that the rafters or the girders of the beams have deflected a lot, so much that you can visibly see them. You can visibly see the deflection also. It is, we can see through the naked eye. So the creep is higher when the temperature is higher, and there is more moisture in the air, therefore in the wood also. So the protection of wood is against moisture is very important. If the moisture is present in over there, then the creep will increase. So we have to provide a kind of protection. This moisture creeps, this moisture content, it creeps the wood, and creep can increase, and you will have more deformation with time. After this, we should talk about the thermal conductivity. The thermal conductivity is one of the major factor that we have to look into. So in case of thermal conductivity, structural softwood timber at 12% moisture content, that is the season state, has the thermal conductivity in range of 0.1 to 1.4 watts per meter Kelvin, and this is quite low as compared to the metals, like which would have 216 for the aluminum and 45 for steel. It is comparable to what we have in concrete and glass. For concrete is 1 and for glass is 0.036. The conductivity increases with the moisture content, temperature, or the specific gravity. But generally we see that wood is a good insulator. It does not transfer heat very easily. So the thermal conductivity, however, increases with moisture content, temperature, or the specific gravity. That means as material becomes wetter, or the temperature increases, or it becomes denser, that is the specific gravity increases thermal conductivity also. Since the thermal conductivity as well, the heat capacity of wood are low, wood does not absorb or release heat quickly. That is why when you touch a wood, then other than some materials as metal, you will not feel very cold or very hot. That is one of the biggest property, that is the best property of timber. Next is thermal expansion. The parallel to grain value of the expansion coefficient varies in the range of 30 to 45. Raised to -6, it is raised to the power of -6 per Kelvin, while the thermal expansion coefficient across the grain are proportional to the specific gravity. They range from 5 to 10 times the parallel to grain coefficient. Now for the engineering properties for the load bearing capacity of timber, this can be explained by looking at the microstructure of this picture. If the load is applied or the stress is applied along the direction of the cell walls, then you can have quite a high load carrying capacity. And after that, there is kinking of cell walls. The cell walls start to buckle and collapse, but which lead to the failure. But you have the grains aligned in the direction of the load, so you have the kinking, that is local distortion, as in this case you can see directly here of the microfibrils, and the chains, and this propagates in the shear wall failure. So now if we were to apply load in the other directions, like you could be applying load in the tangential or radial direction, then you have both the cases, the cell walls are now collapsed. You can see that the cell walls are now collapsed, and You can imagine that what we are trying to push these cell walls together. This is a lot of strain. There is a lot of strain. The load carrying capacity is low until the cells completely collapse. If it is in radial compression, you have some rays which will take some of the compression load, and in tangential direction, the rays do not really help much in the load carrying capacity of the load carrying capacity in compression. Now let's talk about the processing of timber. The processing of timber contains of the four steps. First is felling of trees, that means cutting of trees, the deforestation, seasoning of timber, the conversion of timber, and the preservation of timber. So, okay, so let's talk about the felling of trees. Felling of trees is nothing but cutting of trees which are suitable for engineering purpose. Felling should be done when the tree is matured. Then only it contains more amount of hardwood than sapwood. The perfect age of tree for felling varies from 50 to 100 years. Uh, the best season for felling of trees is midwinter for plain areas and midsummer for hilly areas. The seasoning of timber. The seasoning of timber means the removal of moisture content from timber. A newly felled tree contains water of about 50% of its dry weight. So the timber contains free moisture and bound moisture, as we have talked about free moisture and bound moisture. So the free moisture is present in timber as water vapors, while bound moisture is present in cell walls, which it is allowed to seasoning. Free moisture evaporated first, and the point is called as fiber saturation point. We have discussed this earlier also. The fiber saturation point, in which only the bound moisture that is only that is present at the time, at the point of fiber saturation point, and the water vapors, they are totally evaporated. After fiber saturation point, the timber will start to shrink on drying. If we will try to remove much more water from it, then the timber will shrink, which is nothing but evaporate of which is nothing to worry about, just the evaporation of bound moisture. Now let's talk about the different types of seasoning. It's two types: natural seasoning and artificial seasoning. And the natural seasoning, for natural seasoning, in the air seasoning or natural seasoning or natural drying, the timber is dried by direct action of air, wind, and sun. In this method, the timber logs are arranged one over the other, keeping some space or distance between them for air circulation of fresh air, like as you can see in this picture. In this picture, the logs are uh, put in such a way that they are longitudinal and then transverse. So through this, we are providing much space so that the wind can enter through it and it circulates and it can season the timber naturally. Generally, this type of seasoning requires few months and sometimes over a year, and is a very slow process. The next seasoning is uh, artificial seasoning. Artificial seasoning, it is done, or we can say the man-made seasoning. We do it by us. It is done by us. The kiln seasoning. First is kiln seasoning. Kiln. In kiln seasoning, timber is placed in a chamber with some special heating arrangement. They are like, as we uh, uh, say, it is bhatti. In this process, one thing should kept in mind, that the heating system should be under control. Otherwise, a timber will crack or wrap. The time required for this seasoning is 3 to 12 days. And this is a very quick process, because in this type of seasoning, we put the timber in a kiln, and the kiln are raised up to very high temperature. And due to the sudden time of temperature, there can be sudden cracks also. So we have to take that in mind before kiln seasoning. The second seasoning is chemical seasoning. In chemical seasoning, carbon dioxide, ammonium carbonate, or urea are used as agents for seasoning. Those are applied in dry state. The inner surface of timber dries first, then the outer side. The inner side of timber, it dries first, then the outer side. This ensures uniform seasoning. The time required for seasoning is for like 30 to 40 days. And the last seasoning is electric seasoning. In this method, electric current is passed through the timber logs, and the time required for the seasoning is for only about 5 to 8 hours. And through the electric current, the most of the sap and the most of the moisture, it is evaporated. This is carried out. This is water seasoning. In water seasoning, timber logs are kept immersed whole in the flowing water. The sap present in timber is washed away with the help of water. After that, logs are taken out from water and kept in open air. So water present in timber would be dried by air. The time required for this type of seasoning is 2 to 4 weeks. In this, the sap is totally drained away by water only. So why the seasoning of timber is important? Why we should do such a process? So first, as we can see, it has reduced weight because sap and the moisture, due to sap and moisture, the weight can be high. So it reduces the weight of the timber and it makes it strong and durable. Because of sap and because of moisture, as we all know, then the engineering properties, they degrade. So if we remove moisture and sap, then it will become strong and durable. So the resistance to decay and rot, if the sap is present in the timber, then some bugs, or we can say termites, they can start eating it and make it rot, and it is easier to work with and it lasts longer. Now, how the wood or is converted into timber. So the conversion of timber is the process of cutting of timber into required section. This can be done by using power machines. Skilled persons should be required for economic conversion of timber. The conversion can be done by 4 types as follows. As you can see, there are 4 different types of sawing that we can do. For an example, this is the cross section of the wood, or you can say the tree. We can saw it ordinarily. For an example, we can cut it in this direction for making different logs. There is other way, as you can see, that it can be cut like in this direction. That is usually done in most of the parts of cutting. This is tangential sawing. Sawing means cutting. The third is quarter sawing. The logs, they are cutted in different type of quarters for getting the best out of it. And the last one is radial sawing. As you can see that the cuts are radially. At this point, you can see that the cuts are made radially as per we try the medullary rays, as per according to the medullary rays. And the last is the preservation of timber. The final stage of timber processing is preservation, which can be carried out to increase the durability of the timber and also to resist the attacks of fungi, insects, etc. In general, ASCU, coal tar, oil paints, etc., they are used as preservatives. As you can see, as you have seen, in most of the structures, we use polish also, we use oil paints, and we use different type of anti-termite things so that we can preserve the timber and increase its durability. Now, even after these things, there can be some defects in timber. So let's talk about the defects. They can be internal defects or external defects. The internal defects that like due to factor affecting the growth tissue or the tree, and the external defects are due to external agents or subsequent treatment, like when we were trying to treat the timber, we make some type of defects. And while internal defects, they are naturally present at the time when the tree was growing, when the timber was growing, when the wood was growing. At the time, there might be some defects. So the defects that can be generated through us, they are like defects due to conversion, due to fungi, to insects, natural forces, and due to seasoning. So first, let's talk about due to conversion. The conversion is like when we are trying to cut the timber into small pieces, we are reshaping it from the wood to timber. So during the process of converting timber, the commercial form, the following defects may occur, like the chip marks. As you can see, there is a small, in the slide, as you can see, you can see the chip marks. The chip marks are or signs placed on chips on the finished surface of the timber. There could be some marks. There could be diagonal grain due to improper sewing of timber like these. The torn grain caused when the small depression is formed by falling of a tool. Also, as you can see in this picture, there are so many torn grains because it wasn't handled properly, and a lot of small depressions are made because of it. Vein, denoted by the presence if original rounded surface or the manufactured piece of timber. Now, the defects due to fungi. Fungi attack timber only when the following two conditions are satisfied simultaneously. If these two conditions are there, then a fungi might attack the timber. The moisture content of timber may be above 20%, or there is presence of air and warmth for the growth of fungi. For example, if the moisture is there and the moisture is above 20%, then fungi might attack. Or if there is presence of air and warmth for it to grow, then a fungi will grow. There are many defects that can be occur due to the presence of fungi like blue stain, brown rot decay, dry rot, and many others. There are some defects due to insects also and some natural forces like beetles, termites. As we all know that when a termites attacks on the timber, then they starts eating it, and this type of condition may occur. It become hollow, and the strength and the durability, it collapses. So the defects due to natural forces may be burls, growth of the tree is upset or irregular projection appears. The tree it didn't grow in some regular manner. Colossus, like the soft skin which converts the wound of the tree. Chemical stain, that means discoloring of the wood. That wood may be discolored. It have a non-homogeneous coarse stain. Annual rings get widened, means the annual rings that are forming, they get widened. The space between the annual rings, it increases. So the dead wood, the timber obtained from the dead tree, sometimes dead wood occurs, and this is type of defect where the strength is very less in dead trees. Druxiness, white decayed spots which are concealed by healthy woods. Foxiness, indicated by red or yellow ting in the wood. Ringals, they are typical curved swelling formed upon the trunk of the tree by successive layer of sapwood. Twisted fibers, upsets, water stain, and wind cracks also. Like shakes. Shakes or cracks are caused by the rupture of tissue, resulting in the partial complete separation of the fiber along the grain. As you can see in the slide, these are shakes in which the timber, the wood is feeling defects. Now, last of all, we should talk about the application of the timber. As you can see that the timber, it is widely used for frameworks because it is very good for aesthetical use, and the timber is widely used for formworks, like in this structure. Even in Dr. K.N. Modi University, we have made a tensile structure using the bamboo. As you can see this structure, we have used a type of cloth over it, and this whole structure was made by the students of Dr. K.N. Modi University with the help of bamboo. Bamboo is a kind of exogenous material because it is very good in tension. So that's why, as you can see, it is good for aesthetical view also. So, of the many construction material that a person can choose from, wood stands out as a unique and amazingly versatile product. Its aesthetic appeal, tensile strength, insulation qualities, and ease of fabrication, it enables it to remain a favorite choice for use in extensive way of construction, and its application are really out there. So thank you. I hope you must have learned a lot about wood construction. Thank you.